All right, what's going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to walk you guys through on how to actually hire a lead gen agency. I get a lot of people that come to us and they're like, hey, I'm going to hire you guys. I'm going to get 1 million leads a month and then I'm going to go retire on the beach. And that hardly ever happens. And so in this video, I want to help you guys make an educated decision on if hiring a lead gen agency is, one, profitable for you and if it's the right decision for you. So just for a quick background, I've worked with over 100 plus lead gen agencies. I run a lead gen agency called LeadBird. We work with over 150 clients active today as of August 29th. And I know what makes a good agency and what makes a bad agency when it comes to lead gen. And so I want to basically give you all the secrets that I have so that you're able to make a really good informed decision on if you should hire the agency or not. So the first thing is that you just need to identify your goals. What are you actually looking for? If you're looking to just test to see if an offer works, I wouldn't hire a lead gen agency. It's going to be very expensive to see if your offer has demand. And if you're a completely new startup that hasn't validated your offer, I wouldn't hire a lead gen agency. They're gonna have to do a lot of testing on their end, which means a lot of time that gets wasted and is a little slower because they're an agency. And guess what happens? You pay more and you get less. And so identify what your goals are and identify if it makes sense to either build it in-house or if it is something that you should outsource. So when it makes sense to build it in-house, I think once you've validated your offer, you're at a revenue point where you can have someone that's solely dedicated to this and that you have the technical abilities to automate a lot of the tedious things so you don't need a really big team. If you could automate your scraping of leads, verification of leads, pushing it into Smart Lead, and then pushing the leads into that don't engage with your cold email campaigns into a dialer and do follow-ups on LinkedIn automatically using HeyReach's API, if you could do all of that, I would just build it in-house after you validate your offer. Where it makes sense to me, where we see the best impact with a lot of clients that we have, is when they're in that kind of growth phase where they haven't hit that revenue point yet, where they can hire someone skilled enough to do what I just spoke about, and they've already validated that offer. So they're right in between. That's when it makes sense to hire a lead gen agency. And then when it comes to a lead gen agency, you have to understand what channel that they use. There's some lead gen agencies where they do every channel, and a lot of those agencies, they typically, it's like a generalist marketing agency. They do everything, but they don't do anything really good. And that's probably not the best model, and they're usually a little bit more expensive. And so you want to find lead gen agencies that are specific in one or two channels. And then you also want to identify and talk to people in your industry that are doing outbound to the industry that you're targeting into and identify, hey, does this channel actually work? Is it easy to generate leads with this channel? There's some markets and industries that we sell into with cold email that just have a lower lead rate than others. And it is also dependent on your offer. And so let's say, for example, you're hiring a cold email lead gen agency and you sell marketing services into e-commerce. Unless they're sending 20 to 50,000 emails per month, you're probably only gonna land with 10 to 15 appointments on your calendar. And then you just run the math backwards, right? So if you're getting 10 to 15 appointments on your calendar, let's say your close rate is 20%, so let's say anywhere from 2 to 5 deals, and let's say you're paying the lead gen agency $5K per month, but you pay, or you do the first month at $1,000 retainer, you're not gonna be profitable on that, right? Or you're breaking even by a small amount. And so you just gotta really identify your goals and run that model and be less optimistic to see if, one, you could break even or if you could be profitable. And so that's something to consider. And then with a lot of the lead gen agencies nowadays, first of all, there's 1 million lead gen agencies that are popping up every single day because it's like the wave, I would say. But most of them all work on performance, and you should try to find one that works on performance. And I'll talk about where it doesn't really suit your needs. So a lot of the lead gen agencies, they charge per every booked meeting. And we used to do this at one point at time too. Once we got to about 20 to 25 clients, it became really hard to scale because we had to balance a HubSpot calendar, a Chili Piper calendar, a Calendly, and all these different calendars. And then we started booking into wrong calendars. It's a harder model to scale. So if a lead gen agency is in that 10 to 20, yeah, you can expect them to do really well with booking appointments straight onto your calendar with no issues. But where the issue starts to happen is in two fronts, right? So if they start to rapidly scale, so they start to take on way more clients, then their inbox managers typically will start to mess up, and a lot of things fall through the cracks because it's not the same repetitive process that they're doing across all their clients. There's a little bit of customization they have to do across the board. The other point is that when you're booking the meeting all the way into the person's calendar, you have to do a lot more inbox management. And so now you're trusting the agency that's a startup that's probably outsourcing inbox management to a third world country or just to a country that isn't English speaking to do the inbox management. Now there's a lot of issues there where they may not represent your company properly, they may say something wrong, just a whole bunch of things will fall apart. But if they're in that 10 to 20 stage and they have an inbox manager that has been with them for a while, which you can see on their LinkedIn page, and you can see that they have great English or whatnot, then you could trust them a little bit better. Then there's lead gen agencies that charge for positive responses, which is also a great model. The downfall in that model is that you just need to align with the lead gen agency of what is a positive response and what you're gonna get billed for versus what isn't a positive response and what you're not gonna get billed for. Because if you just get billed for all the clients that say, hey, I'd love to see some pricing, and your initial sequence, CTA, is, would you be interested in grabbing a quote? Then you're gonna get a lot of people that are just requesting pricing that you send the pricing quote to or pricing whatever, and you just never book into a call or really even close. And so then you pay a lot for nothing. So you just gotta align on, hey, what is a positive response and what is it? And then we have meeting ready leads. This is what we use at LeadBird. It's actually a term that we coined. These are leads that are saying that they want to speak and that they also are interested. So there's an indication that they will actually book a meeting. Our clients are booking, and we do this for our sales team as well. We book anywhere from 80 to 90% of our calls or meeting ready leads into calls. And the reason why I think this is the best model when you're working with a lead gen agency on performance, I am biased obviously because we coined this, but I think it meets everything in the middle, right? So there's very light inbox management needed, so there is less for us to know about your actual product and service. So it's easier for us to scale on our end and still get right results for you. And then we are charging less than a booked meeting, and we're still doing a little bit more than a positive response. We're actually getting them to say, hey, yeah, this is interesting. And then we reach out to say, hey, what day was better to speak? And they'll say Tuesday. And then we just forward the entire email thread over to your sales team to take over from there. And that kind of meets everything in the middle. And I think that's what's really important. And then, like I mentioned, you just got to run the math to see if it's going to be profitable for you. And ideally, you're profitable on acquisition, right? And if you're not, like you shouldn't have to float the cash for more than 2 to 3 months. I would say that's pretty good for any kind of B2B business. So that's how I would look at like the pricing model and like the model that they serve. The second thing I would look at when it comes to a lead gen agency is just like their overall authority, right? So if they're running cold emails, for example, and I would just say overall, lead gen in general has become a lot more technical than it has ever before. And so if they do not show any kind of technical competence, like there's a chance that you're going to be left behind in some area compared to other lead gen agencies. Like really getting granular on, hey, where are you sourcing data from? Who's writing the copy? If you look at their LinkedIn page and their copywriters are from Ukraine and you're targeting America, there's probably going to be a disconnect there. And that's not to say that everybody from Ukraine can't write perfect English and copy just like me or you. It just means that it may be off. And so you just got to do a little bit more due diligence there. Maybe ask for examples or look on their website for examples, which is totally okay and totally fine. And they should be willing to share that. And then asking like, okay, hey, if you use one lead source database, do you have access to others? And like, how many leads are in that database for my ICP? And like, how many leads are we going to actually be reaching out to per month? And how many months can we work together? And then what do you do after you reach out to? Asking those questions will really help you understand from an ops perspective, like if it makes sense to work with them. And so that's something that I think is really important to ask during the sales process to the account executive or to the founder that's leading the sales process to see if they're actually going to be able to deliver from an ops perspective. And then I think the other piece too is that with lead gen agencies, a lot of us get a bad rep because of how we go about customer support. So if they're not assigning you a dedicated account manager that's outside of the founder or the person that's leading the sales process, I think that's a red flag. And the reason why I say that is because as a founder, I'm a founder, we have to do a million things. And so when fires come up, a customer may be left behind, and that's not how you should be treated. And so you need to make sure that they're giving you a dedicated account manager that's working specifically with you and is your main point of contact, and then they're not a part of the sales process and they're not the founder of the company. I think that's very important. Otherwise, you're just not going to get that quality care and your questions answered. They should have a 24-hour SLA, right? At the latest, that they should be getting back to you is 24 hours. I think that's also very important. And then just in terms of like reporting, right? What's the feedback loop, right? For us, we send reports every Friday automatically that gets sent to their email. They have access to a dashboard so that they can go see the campaign 24/7, to go actually see the responses we're getting from the campaign. So just like overall visibility and updates, I think is very important when it comes to customer service, and just super good clarity in what's actually happening. And where I would say the red flag is if in the sales process, when you actually look at the SOW and MSA, if it doesn't exactly outline day by day what's happening and what you're getting and what the deliverables are, like you're probably walking into a deal that isn't structured the best for you. So I think that's really important to just look overall into the customer support. And then this is the last thing I would really touch on is if you open up their website and you can't find customer success interviews, I think that's also a red flag. That means that they haven't done this for a lot of people, or they haven't done it well enough. It's very easy to get quotes. It's very easy to put a logo on your site. Anyone could do that. It's very hard to record an interview with a client and say, hey, tell us about your experience. Tell me about the leads. Tell me about the deals you closed. And if you go to our website, you'll see 30 plus of those because we actually do what we do and we do it really well. And so that's something to keep in mind when you're choosing your lead gen agency. Just make sure you look at their website to see if you can find a lot of case studies and work overall. And then who not to hire, right? If they have no clear social proof of performance, I think that's an immediate red flag. If their founder isn't posting a lot of content everywhere, someone that we probably can't trust as well. If their pricing model doesn't hold them accountable to the success of your campaign, I think that's also a huge red flag. And something I forgot to touch on. If you have a very validated offer where like you can, like for us, I would never hire a lead gen agency to run my cold emails because I know that I can email pretty much anybody and say, hey, do you want leads on performance basis? And they'll say yes. So if your offer is that good, you should be negotiating for a lower lead cost because it doesn't take much work to get responses from the market. And as well, like, you probably should opt in for a retainer at that point. Like we have one client or a couple of clients that are retainers just because if they paid us per lead, they'd be paying us like 10 to 50 grand a month just because of how much we'll kill it on their campaigns. And so that's something to also keep in mind on the pricing model side. And then, yeah, just the MSA SOW should really explain what they're doing day by day, week by week, month by month, and what the reporting process is like. If they don't have all of that, I don't think you should go forward with them. You're probably not going to get the best experience, and then as well, you're probably going to burn a lot of money. And if you want to really know if you're going to be able to crush it with the agency, a lot of the agencies that fail, it's not because of like their issues and process errors. It's because of the client. It's their offer. It hasn't been validated. And so before anything, I recommend that if you're thinking about hiring an agency, regardless of what channel that they're using, you try to do just a little bit of the work yourself to test the waters. So if you're hiring an SDR agency, pick up your phone, build a simple lead list, and just start doing some outbound calls. If you notice that you're not getting anyone that picks up and is wanting to actually schedule a demo, that doesn't mean that the agency is suddenly gonna be able to take what you did and turn it around 100 times. Like it probably means that you just don't have a validated offer and people aren't gonna be as interested. And so the agency's not gonna do as well. Same thing with cold emails. It's very easy to set up a simple cold email infrastructure where you send out 500 to 1,000 emails. And if you get interested replies, if you're not getting any interested replies or anybody that's asking for more information, like that's a red flag. That means that it doesn't really matter what the agency does. Like they're probably not also going to be able to increase your results by a lot unless they do something spectacular on personalization or AI or whatnot. And so that's something to keep in mind. But if you are looking for a performance-based lead gen agency that does really well on reporting, gives you a dedicated account manager, has over 40 plus case studies on their website, you should go look at us, leadbird.io, book a call with us. We run a performance model, so we only win when you win. As well, we have documented a lot of success, and we've pretty much cold emailed into every industry, so we have little strategies and tips and tricks of if we can sell it to that market. And it wouldn't hurt to get on a sales call with us because we'll tell you straight up if we can work with you or not. That's me.